Hey guys, Dov here with some more Total War Warhammer 2 multiplayer action. We're here today with Undead Empire, aka Sartosa, the pirates. We've got Arnessa leading the way, and it's technically Vampire Coast, but really Sartosa against the Dwarfs, which if you're going to go Vampire Coast against the Dwarfs, this does give you a number of good options here, namely, of course, the Free Company and Militia, pistol infantry here, and the dual hand weapon infantry have a little bit higher melee attack than state troops, and a little bit of anti-infantry as well, which obviously helps here. This rowdy trait also helps. It's disabled if they're wavering, which they often are, because they don't have the best leadership in the world. It's pretty decent, though, honestly, considering the cost. And that perfect vigor definitely can help in the late game, especially against a grindier faction like the Dwarfs. And you have something the Empire doesn't have, which helps a lot in this matchup. A really nice stock, monstrous infantry with good weapon strength, anti-infantry, and hunger, so they'll regenerate in melee. Obviously, they can vanguard as well, so they synergize excellently with the Free Company here. Scurvy Dogs already running in the side, harassing the Dwarven backline. We've got ROR Gob, the Goblobber, the Crutch Thrower. Let's see here. Bolt Throwers, Rune Lord leading the way. Looks like Quarrelers, some Thunderers. Pretty basic dwarf build, to be honest. Longbeards, Miners, basically some dwarves. So yeah, Sartosa and Free Company immediately rushing in, taking some heat on the approach, but these Miners, they'll stand true in the face of adversity. The low-tier troops, obviously, they have great armor, terrible melee stats, but Arnessa is also going to run in here. She herself is a pretty strong combatant. She's getting shelled pretty heavily, though, as she's running in here. Big Papa's pushing forward, trying to get on all these missile units as quick as he can. Longbeards are immune to psychology, so they won't be, scared of any of these undead units. They likewise will provide encourage. Doesn't seem to be helping those miners, though, as they get routed off. Over here, these miners are also going to get absolutely eaten alive. In the center, Arnessa is very bravely hiding behind a rock over there, trying to stay away from the bolt throwers, which are now focusing on the Mournghouls, which is okay, but given the Mournghouls' kind of weird hitbox and the fact that they move around a lot, it's actually going to be somewhat hard for the bolt throwers to hit them consistently. And because I believe the bolts actually will get stopped by the Mournghoul models, like I don't think it'll actually go through and hit multiple models like a cannonball potentially would. I don't know, I'd have to test that, don't quote me on that. But anyway, these Longbeards not having the greatest time in the world. It's going to be a pretty slow grind in here, but I mean, generally, this fight tends to go, if you have zombies, heavily in favor of the Dwarfs, especially because zombies are so slow. The Sartosa and Free Company and Militia are very fast, one of their advantages, so they can get in here, their dual hand weapons, and really mix it up, keeping up with the Mournghouls mostly. We've got one Mournghoul unit crumbling away here. The rest seem to be pretty healthy for the most part. Arnessa is also still cowering behind a rock, and we've got two more Free Company kind of left back there, or Militia rather, sorry. It confuses me that the Free Company are the ones with the dual hand weapons, and the Militia are the ones with the pistols. Anyway, the Mournghouls, yeah, they're doing pretty well. We've also got this fleet captain, of course, Lore of Vampires, to heal the Mournghouls. The Mournghouls are the only ones that can be healed, and to summon some shambling corpses, of course, will be most helpful. Yeah, she's just getting in here and mixing it up with the miners. She has pretty good combat stats, low armor, so she does need to be somewhat careful, but 60 attack, she'll be able to make good contact. Doesn't have the most armor piercing damage, but still good overall weapon strength at 430. They're actually very potent casters, to be honest, these fleet captains, other than their lack of armor. And only 40 melee defense also isn't amazing. It's pretty good for a heroic unit. It's, I mean, better than some casters, certainly, but it's definitely not great. And especially mid-tier infantry can punish those vampire casters on foot pretty hard. I am an evangelist of the crab. Pretty much always, I think it's better off to have the crab. I can see why you would maybe not take it in this matchup, because it does give her a much smaller hitbox, and it may not necessarily be worth the extra HP, but the forgotten pistol boys here, yeah, whatever. They're just all pirates, to be honest. The pistol pirates. They're getting in here, and yeah, they finally realize they should probably help. Their pistols will do pretty well against the miners, only 80 armor, so they will be able to get some consistent DPS there. The Longbeards obviously will be much tougher targets, but as it stands right now, things aren't necessarily looking great for the pirates. The fact that RNS is still so healthy is definitely helping, and the Free Company, pistol pirates, fact that they're faster than most dwarf units as well, they can kind of run away and then continue kiting and shooting. As long as the dwarf missile units are dealt with, then obviously they can continue to do that. But for the time being, the Goblobber's still online. Arnessa is going to taunt. I guess the taunt is from the captain, but Arnessa is going to come over here with the taunt active and start to just beat down this Rune Lord very heavily. She's a great combatant. I mean, obviously the Rune Lord has very heavy armor, but she doesn't care about that. She does great armor piercing damage, 60 attack, 84 defense with that buff active. Regularly just 60-60, but still very strong stats. That Rune Lord only 40-40. He's just not going to have a good time there. Meanwhile, over here, these Longbeards are still quite healthy, and they have managed to catch the Sartosa militia. And yeah, looks like some Rune of Wrath and Ruin being used to slow there, and then actually catch those units with the Rune Smith. So pretty good. The Dwarfs definitely fighting back, but the balance of power is still slightly in their favor, but definitely very, very close to even. The Thunderers, they don't really have a very clean target to like shoot into this engagement here, but it looks like instead they're going to turn and shoot at these Free Company. Yeah, I'm not sure what these pistol pirates are exactly doing here, but they're definitely going to get shot. Absolutely just exploded, crossbow bolted, shot by small arms, possibly killed by catapults. No, it looks like the catapults are long gone. Slayers actually fended off the last of the infantry there, but we still have one more bolt thrower online. Most of the Dwarven infantry has been scattered to the winds, and the balance power is finally starting to tell a bit in Sartosa's favor, but we'll see. Sometimes these Free Company and militia will just give up on their leadership and run away. Obviously lack defensive stats, including armor, melee defense, or basically anything else, so they do get killed pretty quickly, even by dwarf units, but it's not quite so bad against the Dwarves. Thankfully, generally Dwarves have low melee attack, but obviously none of them have missile block chance either, so the small arms definitely hurt. It's pretty bad. But maybe not. Balance of power kind of teetering back and forth a little bit here. It's going to be a very, very close game. But I think that the fact that the two heroic units for the vampires are still alive right now, I guess Sartosa technically, the Rune Smith is also very healthy, but the Rune Lord is completely done. And that could prove critical in the late game here, especially against a high leadership faction like the Dwarves. Usually they're not too worried when their leader goes down, but in a very, very close game like this, it could end up making the difference. Let's see if Arnessa is able to survive. She herself is not super healthy at the moment. Yeah, very low on HP, less than, a little over 600, and the blasting charges drop her down to like 460. Spearfisher's Net's going to be used to probably debuff these Dwarf Warriors' melee defense a little bit, so the Sartosa handgun, or not handgun, pistol militia. Man, I wish they had handgun militia. That would be even cooler. And I know the boarding axe thing was a total meme, but how cool would it be if they actually did include that variant as well? So what if Sartosa had, like, maybe you couldn't recruit, like, regular zombie infantry or something? I don't know. They'd probably still have to leave them in, but I would just like to see more variants of the Sartosa militia. Probably asking for too much, but the boarding axes and handguns I think would be two that would make a lot of sense. And maybe just replace, here's one thing you could do, maybe just replace all for Sartosa, the gunnery mob zombies with like actual Sartosans. So you'd have Sartosan handgunners, Sartosan bombers, you could have Sartosan blunderbusses as well. Kind of fill all the gunnery mob roles. But anyway, I'm getting way off topic here at the moment. The Dwarfs are looking like they're on their last legs. These Free Company have actually, militia, whatever. Yeah, I'm pretty done. The Runesmith's just getting shot by the pistols, let's say. Looks like Arnessa's probably done for. Yeah, she did flee. She's still alive, though, very critically, which means that the general leadership debuff won't go off. And, of course, one unit here is not like the other that's still left. One of these units is not subject to leadership mechanics and instead crumbles, and so win. And a very, very close game nonetheless. Able to take home a W against the Dwarfs, which is not easy with the Vampire Coast by any means, but as I mentioned, I definitely think Sartosa gives you better odds just because the Free Company actually do add quite a bit in this matchup. The speed is one thing that's kind of Speed's not a stat that a lot of people really consider when looking at a unit, but when you compare zombies who are just abysmally slow with these guys, you can see where if you have a faction where you need to get on top of units very quickly, especially high-value missile units, and tie them down, and of course the anti-infantry helps as well. They just have much better offensive stats than the zombies, so let's just go ahead and have a quick comparison. One of the reasons why this matchup is so hard for Vampire Coast is because your infantry is just so bad. I'd probably say the Vampire Coast have the worst infantry in the game, just by and large. I mean, Depth Guard are situationally okay, but very squishy. Same thing with Sirens. The zombies are good. They have a good HP, terrible stats, but they're very slow. They're undead, which is nice for a low-tier unit, but the Sartosans here, yeah. This 36 speed, it might not seem like much, but compared to other units on this roster, right, they're just abysmally slow. I mean, against something like Beastmen or Skaven, where their infantry are going to be much, much faster than you regardless, right? Their units typically up in the 40-plus speed, especially with the buffs active, right? Yeah, I mean, 36, 38 base, but then you have to consider that, especially on the initial engagement, they're probably going to have this Primal Fury buff active. I mean, it doesn't matter so much in certain matchups, but in other matchups where you can get a speed advantage, it can end up mattering. And Dwarfs are one of those very kind of skewed factions where they also don't have much mobility. You're just in a weird situation with Vampire Coast. Like, they can outshoot you as the Dwarves. Their infantry is just miles and miles and miles better. I mean, literally for the same cost of halberds, which, granted, the halberds are actually a really cost-effective unit, I think, as well. Dwarf Warriors coming in with 85 armor and 40 melee defense at 450 points. One of the most cost-effective low-tier units in the game. In terms of their defensive potential, they don't kill a lot of stuff, but they can hold up for a long time. Great leadership as well, charge defense and magic resistance. So, I mean, compare that to your poor, shambling zombies, which, I mean, the only thing going for them is the fact they have 120 models, a bit of HP, quite a bit of HP actually, and they're undead. So, because of that, because of the outshooting and the out-infantrying, that's the thing, the phase you have to attack then is mobility, right? Dwarfs are critically weak in the mobility phase by their faction design. Therefore, if you can gain a mobility advantage and then use, the tools you have at your disposal that are able to defeat armored infantry, which pretty much all factions have, then that's kind of how you overcome, right? And that's easy to say, but when applying it to a faction like the Vampire Coast, you have to kind of think about it in terms of your infantry as well, that you need mobility on infantry, potentially, right? 36 speed is not faster than Beastmen, but it is faster than most dwarves, I believe. Slayers are a little bit faster, but I mean, everything else is going to be slower, right? So, I think even Rangers, only 33. So, even Rangers you can catch with these guys, and because of their anti-infantry, they'll actually do a lot of damage to them. Plus 6 might not seem like a lot, but it does mean, again, you're hitting for 38 melee attack, which does help even out that differential against Dwarf Warriors, especially kind of made the comparison to State Troops at the beginning as well. Undead Empire. Like, I honestly, as an Empire player, I wish I had Sartosa and Free Company to fight Dwarfs. I would definitely take them as the Empire if I could, but unfortunately we don't have Flagellants don't have anti-infantry, and we don't really have a decent equivalent unit on the Empire roster. I mean, State Troops kind of, but I would rather have the second hand weapon for the anti-infantry here than the shield for the missile block. That's just me. Anyway, I've rambled on long enough for this one. Hopefully you have enjoyed. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button, so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.